Beautiful humans, let's talk about the super sexy topic of closing in the DMs without sales calls. So, in the last 21 months, I have closed 359 people without a sales call of any kind into different tiers and different offers within my world. And I want to walk you through exactly how I do that, and more importantly, how I teach other people to do that, because this doesn't just work for me. We recently had a client, Wes. He got 52 weight loss coaching clients in 8 weeks. And then we also have clients like Jason. He just recently had 100K a month, and he uses this system as a hybrid version. What I mean by that is he does 90% of it, but then he will offer a quick closing call on the other side. But they've already seen the offer, he's already used the system, and that's simply a way to create like a hybrid approach to this. And so how I came to discover this was kind of by accident. In 2018, when I started my business, I was running an agency, a little bit of coaching, doing everything for everyone. And I started getting asked, Dan, how do you do this? And keep in mind, I was pretty fresh, figured some stuff out, but I was being asked, like, can you coach me? Can you meet me for lunch? And so I ended up deciding to take like the typical guru path. I launched a course, and this course was a 997. It was called 6-Figure Side Hustle. And it was basically, the idea was like how to run a Facebook ads agency running simple ads for local businesses in your spare time. And I took on my first client January 6th of 2019. And my first client, my first like 5 to 10 people under this offer were all sold via call. And so my idea was like, this is a cheaper offer, and so it's probably going to be easier to sell via a call because I can get so many of those calls. And it was proven right, and it was proven very wrong. In my first week, I basically promoted it. The next week, I had 25 calls in my calendar. And once I completed that week, I was like, no amount of money is worth this level of hell. I need to figure out a different way to do it. And I was working with this amazing coach at the time, who's a great friend of mine now, a guy called Taki Moore. And he was sharing with me, like, basically, this is how he closes by chat. And for him, he basically had leads everywhere. And then he had a team in the inbox kind of sending this PDF out. So he gave me that system and kind of walked me through it. And then I created this kind of tweaked version for myself. I would run ads to a Facebook group, and then in that process, people would kind of reach out, and I would send the PDF over, and I was starting to close people. But I realized that there was kind of something missing. Some people were warm. The people that kind of knew me, had followed my journey on Facebook, those people were easy to sell to. But what about the people that were coming right in? Obviously, they're much colder. So I created a VSL. And basically what the VSL did was it warmed people up. It walked people through my story, walked people through the mechanism, kind of like why Facebook ads is such a powerful way to start a business. And then I sent them the PDF. And I realized that that VSL was like now a prerequisite, because I was looking at conversations I was having where I was letting people skip that process. Basically, no one was converting. And then I made it a prerequisite where it was basically like, you need to watch this video first. So if someone reached out for the doc, then I would send them to this video first. Hey, before I send this over, have you checked this video out? Great, no worries, go check it out. And this worked really well. I got to a point where I was selling 2 to 3 people a day into this offer, hitting about $20,000 to $30,000 a month. Obviously, a lot of people on payment plans and so on and so forth. Well, the reason I stopped that was because it was a 997 for lifetime access, and that was the whole LTV, right? So very hard to kind of scale with that. Plus, it became very ads dependent, and for an offer that cheap, it was really, really hard to scale with good margins. So I shelved that idea for a second. And my experience was this works really well for kind of mid-ticket stuff, $1,000, maybe $2,000. But for high-ticket stuff, you have to be on a phone call. So that's what I did for the next few years. I took the calls myself, and I freaking hated it. I hated sales calls, never enjoyed them. And then I hated them so much, I built a sales team so I never had to look at them again. But at the end of 2022, I realized I didn't want to have a sales team either. And so I was going to have to try and figure out like how to sell in a simple, scalable way that's enjoyable for me without having to manage this big team. So enter in this strategy that I kind of tested out in 2019. And I was really, really skeptical of whether or not this would work for higher ticket folks. Basically, the program price that I was selling at that point, I think it was it was about 8 grand, I think. And so I simply tested it. I wrote out a doc and I was like, hey, this is what you get, da 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 da. And I had enough of a warm audience where I started to get sales, and I was like, whoa, this is crazy. But then I ran into the same challenges that I had back when I had the Facebook group, which is like, some people were cold and some people were warm, and like some people have no idea who I am. And so obviously the results varied. Well, over the last 21 months, I have refined this system down to a science. So much so that a couple of months ago, I ran some ads behind this kind of automated IG funnel, which is a topic for another video. And I was able to get 30 clients in 30 days with this. And this has worked really, really well. When I launched one-to-one back in 2023, I sold all of my spots, had 30 one-to-one clients, got to 95,000 a month in profit, all through docs. Then I sold a group offer, got 35 clients in 30 days, same system. And so what I want to do is walk you through exactly how to think about this and then how to implement this. Whether you want to kill sales calls for good, fire your sales team, or simply like create a hybrid version where your marketing and your doc is doing the majority of the heavy lifting, and then maybe do a sales call on the end. So let's walk through this. The first thing to understand is the goal and the idea of selling, at least the way that I do it in the DMs, is not replicating a sales call. So I had an ex-client reach out recently and he's like, dude, how good is selling in the DMs? And obviously he's preaching to the choir. I'm like, yeah, dude, it's really good. And he's like, yeah, it still takes a bit of time and like the voice messages can get a bit tedious, but it's still really good, way better than calls. And I was like, voice messages? What do you mean? And he's like, because I'm asking them like, tell me your goals and da-da-da, and then they respond. And then I'm saying like, what are you looking for right now? And basically what he'd done is he'd taken like what would happen on a Zoom call and he'd spread it out now over hours and sometimes days with these voice messages with people. And I want to be very clear, that is not at all what I'm talking about. The way that this system works for me is like, I send the doc to people who are ready, and there's basically no discussion after that. Maybe one or two questions and people are in or out. So I'm really talking about something that is almost automated, almost on autopilot, and is a completely hands-off system. So the most important thing to understand with this is that there is no magic doc that will sell you from crappy marketing. Save you from crappy marketing. If you have strong marketing, it will equal easy sales. If you have weak marketing, it will equal hard sales. So no fancy doc or fancy DM script is going to save you from weak content, from a weak funnel, from people feeling unconvinced the moment that you're sending them the doc. You need to warm people up to get them to the point of pre-sold. So a couple of quick anecdotes here. Google did a study, and I can't remember what industries they looked at, but basically they were trying to figure out like what happens before a sale is made in certain industries. And one of the things that they found was that basically really good prospects who eventually were really easy in the sales process consumed a lot of content from this company. And they found this magic number that was like 7 hours of content consumed. And I haven't seen that to be true as in it has to be 7 hours. But one of the things that I found is the more long form content I create, the easier all of this gets. And this came about, again, kind of by accident, where I was really, really passionate about starting this YouTube channel back in 2018. But all my mentors were like, you need a funnel, run ads and VSL. And so I put the YouTube dream on the back burner. But at the end of 2022, I started a YouTube channel. And it sounds funny, I was trying to make money at that point, but I was not trying to make money with YouTube. I was literally like just putting my lessons, documenting my journey on YouTube. Well, the craziest thing happened. I started putting together this offer doc, this new offer, and people would come to me and say, dude, I just watched like 5 hours of your content and it's amazing. And none of my videos had any calls to action in them at all. And they were like, how do I work with you? And then I'd send them over the doc, and many of them were like, yep, I'm in. And I was like, whoa, this is awesome. And that just happened again and again and again. But the second thing came from that testing period, that kind of period where I was figuring this out in 2019, which was the introduction of the VSL. When I introduced the VSL into the mix, everything got easier. So I created this video back in 2023, and it was like I think it was called Exactly How I Make 80 to 100K a Month in Profit in 3 hours a day with 0 sales calls. And when I put that on YouTube, and then I linked every other YouTube video and basically every call to action in my world to go watch this video, it was staggering. Like I had 5 to 10 inbound leads every single day for months. Now keep in mind, not all the people were like credit card in hand, ready to buy perfect fits, but of those 5 to 10 people that would reach out, I was getting to a very consistent point where no ads, no sales calls, enrolling 10 to 15 clients a month. It was sick. And the only thing that I needed to do when they would reach out, and this was all manual, there was no mini chat I was using, I wasn't using a setter, was people would message me the word community, and I would literally have text replacement, like text shortcuts, where I'd have these codes that I would type and it would auto-populate these kind of recurring messages I would send. And I would just send those out, and then the doc would be sent, and people would come back and say yay or nay, or again, they might have a question or two. And then I refined this more and more over time to where I have like my VA as her, like, hey, Maria here from Dan's team, she deals with a lot of those things. And so between ManyChat and her, a lot of this process is automated for me. But the first thing I want you to understand is that you cannot hope to replace sales calls and not do anything extra with marketing. For me, you can basically have a marketing focused business or a sales focused business. Sales focused businesses are push energy. It's where you're having to follow people up 27 times. You're having to cold DM people. Would you be opposed to XYZ, using all those stupid scripts? And I've just decided that I don't want to spend time selling anything to anyone. I don't want to convince anyone. I don't want to deal with objections. My goal is to make my product so good and my marketing so good that sales becomes effortless. So if you're hoping to do this, you need to understand you need to move towards being a marketing focused business. So instead of having push energy, you have pull. Instead of pursuing prospects and potential clients, you are attracting them. This is the key. This is the absolute key to getting this to work, is specifically like creating long form content. It can be written, it can be audio, it can be video, but people should be able to binge content before they come into your world. That's the first key. The second key is creating some kind of a mini VSL. So what you'll see below this video here is an example of my current mini VSL. It's the only video I have on the internet beside the old mini VSL that has any sort of call to action. So all of my other videos link to the mini VSL. People watch that. If they vibe with me, if they vibe with the value creator way and what I teach, they then reach out to the document and they DM on Instagram, ManyChat, tease it all up. My VA checks it. Occasionally I'll check in, but most of that is on autopilot now. So you need those two focuses: long form content, a mini VSL. The mini VSL's job is really to sell people on who you are and to sell people on your unique mechanism. Now, when I say unique mechanism in our context, I don't mean like you just make up some stupid name to a system and then hope that that convinces people to want to work with you. Like the secret flywheel inception backflip method. Like it's not about a fancy name. What it is it's your unique perspective on the prospect's challenges and how they, like basically Russell Brunson talks about it in terms of the new opportunity. You're trying to present a new opportunity. And so that's like almost like your gospel. It's the way that you teach. And that is what people are going to resonate with. And if they get sold on you and they get sold on that, then the most logical next thing is they're going to want to reach out in some capacity. And obviously that's the goal of the mini VSL, is you tell them how to do that and where to do that. And then the only next step is like, is what you have applicable and like relevant for them right now on this stage? Is it the right price? Is it the right timing? Does it hit on the right things? Does it solve the right problems? And obviously, does it move them to the place that they want to get to? But how I think about this is a framework that I got from Aristotle, which is Aristotle's framework of persuasion: ethos, pathos, and logos. So ethos is that selling of who you are so they can trust you. Pathos is that emotional connection you draw between the struggles that they're having and the unique new pathway that you're showing them that will solve those struggles. And then logos is like the logical piece. It's the rational argument. And that's what the offer doc is. So the offer doc is not there to like, tell them your life story in 2,000 words and share all of your best content and then like sprinkle in some offer stuff. It's like a little bit of ethos, a little bit of pathos, and a lot of logos. If we were to work together, this is what it would look like. So principle number one, if you're actually wanting to consider doing this, you have to move towards being a marketing focused business, pulling people in through the value of your content. That is what's going to pre-sell them and allow them to be ready to simply be sold via an offer doc as opposed to a sales call. Number two, let's talk through the doc. So the magic here is that there are lots of different styles of docs that work. Like I don't teach that there's like, you got to say this, this, and this, because here's the problem. In my case, with having the amount of clients I have, if I go, this is the process, and then I flood the market with like just the exact same replica dog, it's going to work for like 5 minutes. And so I really teach it from a first principles base. So how I think about creating a document, and I try and keep it personally as unfancy as I can, but people can also do fancy and that converts better. It's kind of what's most authentic to you. I have a client called John. He just got 20 clients last week doing a launch for his new offer. And he had like a really fancy sales page. The same principles, but that's what works for him. It was like beautiful, looks amazing, consistent with his brand. For me, it's a Notion doc. I threw it together, no designers involved, really straightforward. The first thing the offer doc has to do is it has to really repel the wrong people and attract and kind of resonate with the right people. So a simple like who is this for, who is this not for section can do, but what you're really looking for is to think beyond simple qualifications. So in my space, it's like you can think about revenue or size of audience or size of team, for example. But I think beyond that. I think those things are important, but more importantly, you're looking for resonant values. You're looking to really help people understand your vibe, understand like how you're wired, what types of people really thrive in your world. This speaks to dream clients more deeply. Your dream clients are being inundated with offers every day, whether it's on their news feed or in their inbox. And what you're trying to do is to break through, to not try and make the same blunt, boring promises that everyone else is saying, but to really show people that you're a values match, to not just hit demographic, but hit psychographic. That's the first piece. The second piece is obviously tying it to a dream outcome. So you need to have a clear and compelling, like, if you think about it like you're a plane, right? And someone's going to board, where is the destination? And most people get this wrong because they only think about it from the perspective of like a number. So if you're a weight loss coach, it's like you will lose like 20 pounds in 90 days. That's okay. But you need to think beyond that, which is like, what are some of the benefits that they're going to experience? So for me, I help people reduce their work hours. So I work 3 to 4 hours a day, so I move people in that direction. I help them eliminate sales calls. I help them increase retention. I help them simplify delivery. And the more I can quantify that dream outcome, not just as a one number, but like painting the picture of what the destination looks and feels like, the more compelling it is. Third piece is obviously rehashing the model, rehashing your unique way. People need to understand, like, when they come in, how are you different to other people? And it's not about being better, it's about being different. What's your unique take, your unique way, your unique model or mechanism that's going to allow them to go from where they are to where they want to get to? And then, of course, it's like the ROI and the COI. So it's really understanding the return on investment, like at what times might they experience certain wins. No guarantees in my world, right? We're not making any crazy promises, but helping people understand like how long is this going to take? What milestones could I expect to hit and when? And then the COI, which is the cost of an action. If they don't take action on this offer, what might be the things that they continue to experience? Now, this isn't about manipulation. This is just simply about painting the picture of like the pain they're already in. And then lastly, of course, it's the details, right? How long, what do they get, exactly like calls, modules, live events, and the price. And then a simple CTA of like, if you've read this and you resonate, this is the next step from here. That is the simplicity of the doc. It does not need to be a mini ebook, 17 pages. I've seen people rip this with just a few paragraphs, maybe a page or two on a Google Doc or a Notion doc. The key is everything that happens before the offer doc, getting them to the point where now they're ready to consider working with you in the offer doc, not overselling them, not overhyping it, but realistically walking out, this is what it looks like to work with me, this is who it's for, this is what you can expect, and these are kind of the next steps. Though that's the second key piece of this overall system working, is creating a really simple, concise, easy to read, and possible to misunderstand doc. Let's talk about the flow. So how I think about this is there's really no set script to do this. The most important piece that has worked for me is becoming detached from the sale. What I mean by this is you get those DMs on Instagram or Facebook where people are saying like, hey, would you be opposed to, and then they have like some, irresistible thing like, would you be opposed to more money? And of course, you and I aren't opposed to more money. What we're opposed to is this stupid way of DMing. There is something so sleazy about our industry where we try and like word trick people and pressure people into taking next steps. And there is something really powerful when people experience someone like you or I that is detached from the outcome. Meaning, we're having a conversation with someone and we're not trying to sell them into our program, right? That's what amateurs do. What pros do is they simply present it and they help the prospect take the right next step for them. Over the last 2 years, I made more money than I ever have in my career before. Then I've just crossed $10 million in cash collected. And that last 2 years has really come down to this idea that I never interact with anyone trying to sell them anything. So if you come across a video like this, if you experience the offer doc, if you have a conversation with me in the DMs, none of it is ever trying to convince you of anything. My job is to simply guide you towards helping you make the best next step for you. So when you think about designing any sort of a chat flow, I want you to think speak like a human, right? Almost think like 14-year-old girls texting. The more informal you can make the chat flow and the more kind of relational and in the moment you can make it feel, the better it will convert. Not huge blocks of text, not crazy interrogation, 37 questions. One of the things that I found, depending on what you're optimizing for, like if you're trying to filter out bad fits or you're trying to create a little bit of friction so the wrong people don't get through, is you can even have like an application process set up by ManyChat. So I've done this in the past, I've used it, it worked phenomenally well, where people would DM me the keyword for the doc, and then it would literally walk them through like multi-choice questions through ManyChat, like, hey, are you this person, right? A coach, consultant, an agency owner, or other. And if they clicked other, it would direct them to a bunch of free resources and say like, hey, what we're doing is not a fit for you. Then it might ask about revenue. The point I'm trying to make is you can make this process as simple as possible. Before I had all of the fancy ManyChat stuff that now kind of makes it automated, I would literally manually, with those text replacements, like I said, actually reach out and say, hey, it would be something like this. Hey, thanks for reaching out. This is how many spots I have left for the month, and I would manually do that because I was running a waitlist model. Here's the doc. Let me know if you feel like this could be what you're looking for. And then if I haven't heard from them in like 24 hours, I'd reach out and say, hey, just checking in. Did you get a chance to check out the doc? But if they ghosted me by then, I'll do no follow-up. Really, for me, it was just kind of making sure that they actually got a chance to read it. And if they had any questions, I'm here to answer them. But there was no like fancy, crazy chat flow. The more you try and over-engineer like the 1% incremental gains, the more you miss the whole point, which is that, number one, you are going to attract the right people by creating consistently good content. If you have strong marketing, it makes for easier sales. When you focus on also pairing that with something like a mini VSL, you then sell people on you sell people in your unique way. The only thing that's left is, do you have an offer that makes sense for that dream client? Because they're already sold on you. They're already sold in a unique way. You don't have to convince them. Now the offer is just about laying out the facts, plain and simple. And then from there, you've got options. You don't have to go from the sales call model to ditching it and wondering if your income is in jeopardy. One of the ways that I've seen people do this is taking everything I've said, right? Increasing content, right? Simplifying the call to action through a VSL, sending a doc, but then at the end of the doc, instead of saying like, let me know if you're in, saying no doubt you still have questions. If you would want to, you can go ahead and book a call with me here and we can jump on and really talk through whether or not this is a good fit for you. And so that's a great way to, again, demonstrate more authority, but also make sure that you're not like terrified about losing any sales. The overarching theme here is that when you show up on the internet with no desperate energy, no scarcity, no manipulation, you are able to pre-sell people way more effectively. When you shift from a push business model to a pull business model, a client pursuing prospects model to a client attraction model, selling becomes way easier because you're not really selling. You're just serving. You're just helping people understand, here's what you got to offer, here's who it's for, and really helping them make an educated best next step for them. So hoping this video has been helpful. If you have any questions at all, let me know below and I'll catch you in another video.